The Peace Corps was born at 2 o'clock in the morning. It was October 4th, 1960. A then young senator from Massachusetts by the name of John F. Kennedy was running for the presidency. And he was running hours late for a campaign stop at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. And so at 1:30 or 2 a.m. in the morning on a frigid night in Michigan, he challenged the 10,000 students. How many of you, he asked,
how many of you who are going to be doctors
are willing to spend your days in Ghana?
Technicians or engineers? How many of you are willing to work in the foreign service and spend your lives traveling around the world?
And that's all it really comes down to, in a way, to begin with. Someone has to ask you.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
An administration came into office in 61 and asked a generation, or several generations of Americans, to do something that was larger than themselves.
Holed up in a hotel room not far from where I'm speaking today, in the floor of the United States Senate, with only a few typewriters and a stack of blank papers, two aides, one named Sergeant Shriver and the other named Harris Wofford, had been tasked with figuring out how to put this outrageous idea into practice. And within a month of that date, President John Kennedy had created the Peace Corps by executive order. Within 2 years, more than 7,000 young Americans were serving across the globe. And that number had more than doubled by 1966, the year that I joined the Peace Corps.
The idea of joining this Peace Corps was so exciting to me, to be able to go up and do something that different, making a difference in people's lives, and then flying off to the Dominican Republic, and spent 2 years that seemed to go by in a week. And it was the most important thing, other than my own family, I ever did in my life. My father came down as a senator to visit me up my village. He could become a great supporter of the program.
I remember when I first met you and you came to see me about the Peace Corps. I confess that, like many others at that time, I had some doubts. I didn't think this thing would work. Well, you certainly made it work.
We weren't in the business of trying to convert people ideologically. This was nothing more than what it was intended to be at the outset. And that is a people-to-people program where we got to know them better, they got to know us better. Earlier this year, we went back and went up to Benito Monción, my beloved village. We've been watching my daughters see their father in a different light. And obviously I want my children to find their own path and their own passions in life. I hope they have strong passions. But I hope that that experience was one that translate one day into producing a couple of Peace Corps volunteers. Can you imagine today, had we been able to have Peace Corps, say, in Libya or in Syria and so forth, what kind of positive influence that might be having as this Arab Spring is evolving, for instance. This generation is no less idealistic and determined to make a difference than every other generation has been in the past to do something larger than themselves. But they need to be asked. They're not going to change the world overnight, but we never intended to. It was merely giving us, as Americans, a chance to understand the world in which we live and come back home with that knowledge, and to leave in the places where we served a deeper understanding of who we are as Americans as well. So I'm not trying to hold on to the past. I just think that fundamental idea, born 50 years ago, is as valuable today, maybe more so, than it was even 50 years ago.